I think you're going to see a very strong economy once we get through the bust, which is, probably from second half 26 on. I think what they're going to do in terms of reducing government um, and some of the other things are going to help us. There's problems. There's big macro problems we're going to be facing, but I think at least Trump policies will soften some of those blows.
We had a red wave, and they say elections have consequences. So, how does this fit into your narrative? I do want to congratulate you on your forecast. It's unfolding as you said it would, and the election gave it a little bit of a boost here. So, talk to me about what you think is going to happen once Trump takes office, and or what you think the effects are going to be of this red wave.
Sure. First, great to see you, Dale. Haven't
You
haven't
too,
talked to you in a
buddy.
little while. I think it's a good time for us to have a conversation. Yeah, I think the election was important. Obviously, last week's action in the markets told you the markets liked it. Um, I obviously he doesn't take office for a couple months, but he's certainly hitting the ground running. My sense is that he learned a lot in his first 4-year term and is doing things very differently this time, knows who he can trust, knows who to surround himself with. And I think that's going to make a big difference over the next 4 years in terms of getting policy implemented. And as you know, in the 2016 term, he got quite a bit done even then. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see, some real pro-capitalism, shrink government type of policy going forward, and that should cheer the markets at least for the next few months. Um, my view of last week we had a 300-point pop in the S&P.
Right.
I think it would not surprise me to give back half of that this week. So we still have a few days left in the week. So it shouldn't surprise anybody if we get back towards 5,800. Might not go that far, but there's a little gap I think just below 5,800.
Yes, we gapped up that day
Yeah,
on the
if we
election day.
right, yeah. So if we want to fill that, it wouldn't surprise me, or it might not get that far, but basically take back half. And then I think it's clear running here. I think we are in that final. What I've talked about for a long time is that as we approach the end, we would go into a parabolic. I think we're probably last week was the beginning of that parabolic. And so
Okay.
that means you're going to have a pretty fast sprint here to what now is a 7,500 target for me. I think the S&P can get 7,500, the Nasdaq to 25,000. Those are recent increases. I went from 7 to 7,500
Right.
in my fourth quarter letter, and from 24 to 25,000 on Nasdaq. My Dow target is 55,000. My Russell target is 3,300, and I didn't change those. So I think
Okay.
we've got basically between 25% and 40% upside here, and you could see it in the next few months. So, that's what I call vertical. I'm very comfortable. I consider my 7,500 number a high conviction number. So as far
Okay.
as it sounds crazy to have these kind of runs, but we're in an unusual period, and I think it's, as I've said many times, it's the end of a 42-year secular bull market that started in August of
82.
1982.
I
Yep.
was short IBM that day. At the bottom, so here I was short. I
Yep.
remember that day and I talk about it. And I bring this up to people that haven't been around as long as you and me, is that this is not a young bull market. It's 42 years old, going on 43. That in your work, that's a pretty long-term secular bull market, isn't it? It's not young,
Yeah,
it's
we
age.
haven't. I don't think we've seen too many bull markets like this going back in history. I don't have my history all the way back, but certainly, this is as long as any cycle I've seen, and it's we had plenty of cyclical bulls and bears within that secular bull, but that's a long run. And I use 1982. Some people quibble with that as a start. I use it because that was really the start of the disinflationary trend that pushed this
Yeah.
market up. The PE multiples were single digit then. PE multiples now are in 22, I think around 22.
Yes.
Uh, uh,
660 Dow
yep,
in August of 82.
yep.
Just to put it in
Yeah, I don't.
perspective.
I was thinking it was 780 at the bottom. I
Oh,
might be wrong,
maybe.
but yeah,
Yeah, maybe I'm
I
thinking
think
about the
that's
Haynes bottom in S&Ps.
yeah, that's right. 660 in
Yeah.
2009. Yep.
Okay. So, I wanted to ask you about your cycle, because cycle, like you just said, it's about time. All cycles are about time. So, it doesn't matter to me when a market reaches a target or objective, whether it's, everyone would like it to happen today. Everyone likes immediate gratification, but the timing of hitting a target is not as important as hitting the target, right?
Yeah,
So, are
I
you,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you
Well,
go ahead.
the question was a long way around it is, are you surprised at how long this has taken? Because we were talking melt ups for a year or two, and there were times, well, I think we'll be done in the summer, then I think we'll be done in the fall. And your best guesstimate now is you think that we're going to be pretty close to done by Inauguration Day.
Yeah, I don't know if I can call it that closely for sure,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think first of all, my work is not really time cycle at all. I know there are people out there that do 4-year cycles, 8-year cycles, and all kinds of cycles.
Yeah.
None of my When I say cycles, I'm referring to basically the market cycle that ties in with the economic cycle,
Okay.
and so it's really not time at all. Um, I make the mistake, obviously, of trying to guess how fast we can get to a top.
Yeah.
But it's really
That's
driven.
tough.
And the reason I kept putting it out there as, it could be within 6 months was to talk about that once you go into the parabolic, you can cover an awful lot of ground in a hurry. The problem was we hadn't gotten, each of those times it looked like we could start the parabolic. It was part of the melt up, but it really hadn't gone into the parabolic stage. I believe we are in that stage now, which means you can cover 25 or 30% in 2 or 3 months. And that sounds crazy. And it doesn't have to do that. It can stretch out even again. And I don't know that inauguration day is important, but I do think it's probably, first quarter and maybe earlier in the first quarter. But on Twitter, I get myself in trouble. All the criticism is about, they say I'm wrong because I put out these possibilities of time, but it really is the targets that are important. The market's going to determine when we get there, and it's not. And again, it's not. I'm not playing a game of saying I'm going to put the target out there that's unlimited in terms of time, but it can stretch out. If you have consolidations, that just stretches out the time until you get there. But I think we are, if I'm right, we are in the parabolic stage now. We're just beginning it, and that means it's going to stay in this steep run with very, as I say, you can have 1 to 3% pullbacks at any time, but I don't think you're going to have 5 and 10% pullbacks that stretch the cycle out.